They say the future belongs to those who prepare for it. That mantra has guided the United States Marine Corps for centuries, driving it to adapt again and again to meet evolving threats. But now a new kind of challenge is on the horizon, one defined by high-tech weaponry, contested seas, and adversaries that want to keep America at arm's length. In the spring of 2020, the Marine Corps announced a sweeping initiative, initially called Force Design 2030, now simply known as Force Design, that seeks to reshape how Marines fight, deploy, and deter in places where every inch of land or sea is contested. Over the next few minutes, we'll plunge into the story behind this transformation. We'll explore the rise of the Marine Littoral Regiments, or MLRs, specialized units poised to spearhead operations in the toughest corners of the world. And we'll see how, through technology, innovation, and an unbreakable commitment to the mission, the Marine Corps is once again proving it stands ready to face the battles of tomorrow.
The battle to keep our nation and its people safe has changed. Our world has become more dangerous and more unpredictable.
The roots of Force Design, from Iwo Jima to Fallujah, the Marine Corps has a storied legacy of meeting danger head-on. For decades, the Corps was configured primarily for large-scale amphibious assaults and ground combat scenarios. But as technology advanced, adversaries found new ways to challenge U.S. power, particularly at sea. Naval fleets, once unassailable, now must contend with advanced anti-ship missiles, stealthy submarines, and drone swarms. In response, Marine Corps leadership realized to maintain its role as a forward-deployed, quick-strike force, the Corps had to transform. This meant leaning into naval expeditionary warfare, strengthening partnerships with the Navy, and designing smaller, more flexible units that can operate effectively in contested maritime spaces. And so, on March 23, 2020, the Marine Corps officially launched Force Design 2030, a decade-long modernization plan that has since been rebranded simply as Force Design. It's an initiative as bold as the Corps itself, and at its heart lies a concept that's about to change how the Marines deploy: the Marine Littoral Regiment.
They learn to work together to overcome doubt, fear, and weakness, and become capable of making smart and decisive combat decisions. It's a special skill honed across more than 240 years of defending this nation.
Defining the Marine Littoral Regiment, MLR. The Marine Littoral Regiment, or MLR, is no ordinary unit. Picture a specialized force of roughly 1,800 to 2,000 Marines and sailors. They're lighter, faster, and equipped with cutting-edge gear designed to operate in coastal or littoral zones, places where sea meets land. These MLRs are trained to confront threats in the most critical maritime choke points around the globe. Each regiment will be organized, trained, and outfitted to conduct expeditionary advanced base operations, EABO, deploying small teams to austere shore locations, ready to control or deny access to surrounding seas. Launch precision strikes using advanced missile systems and drones. Coordinate air and missile defense, forming a protective shield around both themselves and friendly forces. Provide maritime domain awareness, using intelligence and surveillance to keep constant watch for enemy movements. Support naval surface warfare, helping the Navy dominate the seas. Contribute to information operations, using cyber tools and messaging to influence narratives and keep the enemy off balance.
Peace, bring aid, or take the fight anywhere on the planet for as long as it takes to buy time, create decision space.
The new battlefield, a contested environment. Why the shift to MLRs now? Look no further than today's contested maritime zones. Across the globe, potential adversaries are pouring resources into weapons that can strike from afar. Missiles, drones, submarines, and advanced radar. They want to keep the U.S. Navy away from their shores, forcing any would-be challenger to think twice before sailing into danger. In this environment, large ships and massive ground forces may be too easy to spot and even easier to target. So the Marines devised a plan. Stand-in forces, small yet potent teams, would linger in the no-go zones, acting as eyes and ears for the fleet. If hostilities begin, these teams strike first, disrupt enemy sensors, and ensure the Navy and Joint Force can gain the upper hand. As the Commandant of the Marine Corps observed in his Force Design 2030 annual update, adversaries are using contested maritime spaces like a shield, from behind which they can pressure allies and partners. The stand-in force concept flips the script, positioning Marines on the front lines, on remote islands or key coastlines, to shape the battle from within. Real-world MLR deployment. Imagine you're an MLR platoon commander. You and your Marines land on a small island or a remote coast, set up a rudimentary camp, and quickly integrate with local allies. Your job is to watch the skies, seas, and land for suspicious activity, often in a gray zone scenario before any bullets fly. Your technology is compact but lethal. Truck-mounted anti-ship missiles, mobile radar units, and drone swarms. You have limited supplies, so you rely on host nation support and carefully pre-positioned caches. You're there to show presence, deter aggression, and if the situation escalates, be the first to respond. How long could you stay? That depends on logistics, cooperation from the host nation, and your ability to receive resupply from the sea or air. It's a precarious mission requiring both stealth and stamina, balanced by the knowledge that your position is crucial to preventing fait accompli aggression, a sudden hostile takeover of territory before allies can react. The building blocks, MLR, organizational structure. To pull off these missions, each MLR comprises 4 distinct elements. Command element, the brain of the operation, intelligence, reconnaissance, cyber, and communications experts all work together to process data, coordinate missions, and make real-time decisions. Littoral combat team, the muscle on the ground, featuring an infantry battalion and an anti-ship missile battery. They can fragment into smaller detachments, each capable of scouting, striking, or defending a forward base. Littoral Anti-Air Battalion, the defensive shield. Operators specialize in air defense, early warning, and controlling the local airspace. They also handle quick rearming and refueling tasks for aircraft. Combat Logistics Battalion, the lifeline. They ensure that small teams get the food, ammunition, medical care, and fuel needed to survive. They also manage pre-positioned stockpiles so that if a crisis escalates, the MLR isn't caught off guard. Cutting-edge capabilities. Selected MLR systems innovation doesn't stop at organizational structure. To thrive in high-threat environments, MLRs require advanced tools and platforms. Let's look at a few. Navy Marine Corps Expeditionary Ship Interdiction System, MESIS. At its core is the Naval Strike Missile mounted on the Rugged Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, JLTV. This setup gives MLRs a lethal anti-ship punch, allowing Marines to deny enemy vessels safe passage. The Corps plans to establish 14 batteries of MESIS by 2030, with 3 going directly to MLRs in the Indo-Pacific. MQ-9, Reaper Unmanned Aerial System, UAS, a medium to high-altitude drone, known for its dual role, hunting targets or providing intelligent surveillance, and reconnaissance, ISR. The Marine Corps is activating new drone squadrons like VMU-3 at Marine Corps Air Station Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii, and aiming for a total of 18 Reapers by 2025. Marine Air Defense Integrated System, MADIS, a short-range surface-to-air system mounted on JLTVs, crafted to defeat enemy drones and aircraft. Recently fielded to the 3rd Littoral Anti-Air Battalion in Hawaii, with more units slated for late 2025. Navy Medium Landing Ship, LSM. Once known as the Light Amphibious Warship, LADU, the LSM is designed to transport MLRs swiftly and stealthily between islands and shorelines. However, the program hit a major snag in December 2024, when the Navy canceled its request for proposals due to higher-than-expected costs, leaving the future of LSM procurement uncertain. Standing up the regiments, what's happening on the ground? Despite procurement hiccups, the Marine Corps is pressing forward with establishing multiple MLRs. In March 2022, the 3rd Marine Regiment in Hawaii was redesignated as the 3rd MLR. After rigorous trials, they reached initial operating capability, IOC, by late fiscal year 2023. They're expected to achieve full operational capability, FOC, in fiscal year 2025, leading the charge in force design experimentation. By 2025, the Corps plans to reorganize the 12th Marine Artillery Regiment in Okinawa into the 12th MLR. In December 2024, the 12th Littoral Anti-Air Battalion activated at Camp Hansen, and the 1st Battalion, 4th Marines, was redesignated at Camp Pendleton before joining the 12th MLR. Looking ahead to 2027, the 4th Marine Regiment is slated to move from Okinawa to Guam, becoming the 4th MLR. Unlike the 3rd and 12th, this Guam-based regiment will rely heavily on rotational forces rather than permanently stationed Marines, marking another innovative step in the Corps' forward presence strategy. MLR utility beyond the Indo-Pacific. At first glance, the MLR concept seems tailor-made for the vast island chains of the Indo-Pacific. But the Marine Corps is a global force with responsibilities far beyond the Pacific Rim. Recent geopolitical shifts, like Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, have stirred questions about whether MLRs can or should be adapted for operations in Europe, the Middle East, or other hotspots. If the Corps needs at least 3 MLRs to address Indo-Pacific threats, what happens when crises erupt elsewhere? Should additional MLRs be stood up for other regions, or would the existing ones pivot as needed? And what does that mean for training, logistics, and strategic prepositioning of equipment? These are the kinds of discussions now taking place in the halls of Congress, as lawmakers weigh whether Force Design 2030 is flexible enough to handle a spectrum of challenges on the global stage.
In other words, we are seeing that we're going to have more distributed operations in more locations, which will provide us that redundancy and resilience, and then diversity to have some capability to move with respect to ships on the water that are in motion, which are harder to target.
The role of the Navy Medium Landing Ship, LSM. A key ingredient in the MLR recipe is tactical mobility, the ability to move swiftly across island chains, beaches, and coastal zones. That's where the Navy Medium Landing Ship, LSM, was supposed to come in, bridging the gap between larger amphibious assault ships and smaller landing craft. Originally, the Navy planned to procure up to 35 LSMs, starting as early as fiscal year 2023. But schedules slid to fiscal year 2025, and then, in December 2024, the unthinkable happened. The Navy canceled its request for proposals due to spiraling costs. Now everything is in limbo. Will the Navy and Marine Corps find a more affordable design or trim the total number of ships? Could an entirely new vessel concept emerge? If the Marines' entire Indo-Pacific strategy hinges on having these agile ships, Congress might have to decide whether to reprioritize shipbuilding funds or question the entire force design approach. Future challenges and opportunities. Every grand plan faces uncertainties, and the MLR rollout is no exception. Budget constraints, shifting strategic priorities, and evolving technologies all threaten to alter the Marine Corps' path. Yet the Corps persists, fueled by a heritage of overcoming the odds. For U.S. lawmakers, tough questions loom. Should more MLRs be created for other theaters, or should the Indo-Pacific remain the primary focus? How essential is the Navy Medium Landing Ship to Force Design success? And what happens if the Navy can't or won't fund it at the levels the Marines need? Is the MLR model the right fit for unforeseen crises around the globe, from Eastern Europe to Africa and beyond? These debates will shape how America projects power and defends its interests. They'll also determine whether the Marine Corps' proud tradition of agility and readiness can stand up to the high-tech threats of the 21st century. The final word: a force in transition change is never easy, and for the United States Marine Corps, steeped in tradition and tested in battle, the challenges of force design are formidable. Yet the spirit that once led Marines ashore at places like Guadalcanal and Incheon endures. The Corps' willingness to innovate, experiment, and adapt reflects a deep commitment to safeguarding the nation's interests, no matter the cost or complexity. As the 3rd MLR in Hawaii stands watch, and the 12th MLR in Okinawa readies its transformation, the Marine Corps is leaving no stone unturned in preparing for a new era of conflict. One where the lines between peace and war blur, technology changes the rules of engagement, and the ability to operate on contested shorelines can make the difference between deterrence and defeat. In the end, the story of force design, the MLRs, and the Navy Medium Landing Ship is about more than just hardware or organizational charts. It's about ensuring that the Marines remain the tip of the spear, ready to stand in harm's way, gather vital intelligence, deliver decisive blows, and protect American interests across the oceans. Only time will tell how these ambitious reforms play out. But one thing's for sure, the Corps is on the move, and the future of expeditionary warfare may never be the same again. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the cutting-edge transformation of the United States Marine Corps. If you want to stay informed on the latest developments in military technology, doctrine, and strategy, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, Semper Fi.